Okay, let's dive into something I think touches pretty much anyone working with data these days.
Hmm.
We're talking about getting out of, well, maybe spreadsheet hell
Hmm.
and into something more dynamic.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Moving from traditional Excel reporting, which so many people rely on, to a tool like Power BI.
Exactly. And we've been looking at an article from Hitachi Solutions called 8 Reasons to Move from Excel Reporting to Power BI.
That's the one. So for this deep dive, our goal is really to, unpack the key reasons they highlight for making this kind of shift.
Right. What are the actual benefits if you're sitting there right now, maybe wrestling with Excel for your reports?
We all know Excel, don't we? It's been the go-to for, well, forever.
Oh, yeah. Built tons of reports, dashboards, probably whole processes in spreadsheets.
And probably hit its limits too, right?
Definitely hit its
For
limits.
sure. Excel's great for lots of things, no doubt. Smaller data sets, specific calcs, absolutely.
Mm.
But as the source article points out pretty much straight away, Power BI comes in offering, and they say powerful analytics and reporting features.
Okay, powerful how? What's the main difference?
Well, the core thing they flag is being able to experiment fast with different charts and visuals
Ah,
and running complex stats calculations across, huge data sets without the whole thing grinding to a halt.
yeah, that sounds familiar.
And getting answers kind of on the fly just by quickly dragging and dropping different data fields around.
So the second your data gets really big or you want to play around with it visually, Excel just starts to struggle.
It really does.
Yeah,
Which leads us straight into the first big reason they mentioned for Power BI.
which is.
Accessing and storing a vast amount of data. That's reason number one.
Okay, vast amount. What does that mean in practice?
Power BI apparently has these very impressive compression abilities.
Postcretion? Yeah.
So think about this scenario. The source gives a specific example.
Hmm.
You get a big data file, maybe a 300 megabyte CSV.
Oh, yeah. Painful.
Trying to open that in Excel, it's slow, maybe it just crashes, right?
I've been there.
So the article says that same 300 megs of data, maybe even combined with other data sources,
Right.
can fit inside a Power BI file that's a .pbix file that's only around, say, 50 megabytes.
Wait, hold on. A file that's, what, like a sixth of the size? Holding the same data?
Potentially even more data, yeah. That's what they highlight.
Wow. Okay, that alone, just managing the files, that's huge.
It's a game changer, definitely. And it means you're not forced into compromises,
Like what?
like having to chop down your big data sets or pre-aggregate everything and lose all the detail just to make Excel cope.
Ah, right.
In Power BI, the really granular row-level detail and the high-level summaries can live together. You can just drill down when you need to.
Okay, that's cool. But what about all the time we spend just, getting the data ready, cleaning it up, merging files? That's hours in Excel sometimes.
Oh yeah, the data prep nightmare. That's another huge area Power BI tackles. It has built-in tools specifically for modifying and preparing your data.
Like what kind of tools?
Well, you can do transformations, change formats, delete rows you don't need, add custom columns, pivot or unpivot data you can do just with clicks, not formulas everywhere.
Okay.
And you can easily set up relationships between your different tables. Tell how your sales data links to your customer data.
Right, like building a proper data model, the star schema thing they mentioned.
Exactly. Star or snowflake schemas.
Yeah.
It helps make sense of everything. And here's the really brilliant part. Power BI remembers all those cleaning and transformation steps you did.
Remembers them?
Yeah. So next month, when you get the new data file, you just hit refresh.
Sure.
And Power BI automatically reapplies all those steps, all that cleaning, formatting, merging. It just happens.
So that horrible, repetitive Monday morning task just vanishes?
Pretty much. It frees up so much time.
Wow. Less time cleaning, more time actually analyzing.
That's the goal, which flows perfectly into the second reason they highlight.
Which is?
Spotting data trends quickly and easily.
Okay, trends. Makes sense.
The source really emphasizes Power BI's built-in time intelligence features. Analyzing stuff over time, month on month, year-over-year comparisons becomes much, much simpler.
Okay, because dates are obviously key for trends. How does it handle dates? Especially if your source data is a bit messy, date-wise.
Yeah, common problem. Power BI makes it pretty easy. If your data doesn't already have a nice, clean date table structure,
Which it often doesn't.
right,
No.
you can create a dedicated date dimension table in Power BI, like super quickly. The source mentions a simple function for it.
Okay.
Then you just visually link that new date table to the date columns in your actual data tables.
So you sort of standardize the dates across everything.
Exactly. And one date table can connect to multiple data tables, like sales and inventory, keeping time consistent.
Right. So how does that save time compared to doing it in Excel?
Oh, think about trying to do, say, year-over-year gross across big tables in Excel.
VBA macros.
Yeah.
Complex formulas.
Often, yeah. Business analysts, according to the source, can spend hours, even days, writing code or wrestling with formulas just to line up the dates and do those time comparisons.
Right.
Power BI, once you've got that date table and relationship set up, uses built-in functions specifically designed for this.
Like special formulas.
Yeah, they're called DAX functions. The article gives an example. Totally TKD. You basically just tell it, give me the year-to-date sum of, say, revenue using my date table.
And it just calculates it without needing complex logic.
It handles the complexity behind the scenes.
Right.
Makes comparing performance across years much easier.
Okay, so it's not just possible like in Excel, it's actually built in and efficient. That function name totally TD kind of tells you how specific it is.
Exactly.
All right, let's switch gears a bit. How do the reports actually look? Reason 3 is about intuitive UX features.
Yeah, the user experience. This is where Power BI can make things, well, prettier, easier.
Prettier? How so?
The article stresses how simple it makes, creating reports that look really professional and, visually appealing. Even if you're not a graphic designer.
Okay.
It uses a lot of familiar Microsoft Office stuff.
Yeah.
Drag and drop is everywhere. Resizing visuals is easy. You can copy and paste formats.
So it feels kind of familiar if you use Word or PowerPoint.
Definitely. And a really nice feature they mention is using themes.
Themes, like color schemes.
Exactly. You can set up your company's official branding logos, color palettes, fonts in a small theme file.
How does that work?
It's just a little text file, a .json file with the color codes and stuff. You import that into Power BI Desktop,
And then?
and boom, all your charts and tables automatically use the correct company colors and fonts. Instantly consistent branding.
Oh, nice. So no more guessing the exact shade of corporate blue for every single chart?
Right. Saves loads of time and makes everything look unified, even if different people build the reports.
That's a big plus for consistency. What else on the UX side?
Well, they also mentioned the format painter, just like in Excel or Word.
Mm-hmm.
You can copy the formatting, like colors and fonts, from one chart and quickly apply it to another.
Handy.
Yeah, and you still have detailed control if you need it. You can tweak individual charts. Maybe you add markers to lines, change where data labels show up, things like that, just to make it super clear and easy to read.
So clean, consistent, easy on the eyes.
Got it. Okay, now how do you get these reports to people? Reason 4 talks about incredible cloud-based features.
Right. This is a fundamental shift from the old Excel way.
Which was what? Emailing massive files around?
Usually, yeah. Emailing spreadsheets, dumping them on shared drives, maybe SharePoint, and then hoping everyone's looking at the latest version.
The which version is right.
Yeah.
The game.
Exactly. Power BI changes that completely. You publish your finished report securely to the cloud service, the Microsoft-hosted Power BI service.
Okay, publish to the cloud.
And that's where the data can refresh automatically, right? So it's always current.
That's a key part, yes. Automated data refreshes. But once it's in the Power BI service, you unlock some really cool extra tools.
Like what?
Well, the source points to one called Quick Insights.
Quick Insights.
Yeah. Basically, Power BI's cloud algorithms can analyze your data set for you and automatically find interesting patterns, correlations, outliers, trends you might have missed.
Whoa, automatically, how?
You literally just right-click your data set in the service and choose Quick Insights. It works best if you set up your data model well with those relationships we talked about.
So the system itself is suggesting interesting things to look at in your data.
It can, yeah. It can surface stuff you maybe hadn't even thought to chart yourself.
That's pretty powerful. What else?
Another big one is natural language query. Q&A, basically.
Asking questions in plain English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is great for, say, executives or people who aren't super familiar with the report details. They can just type a question into a box on a dashboard.
Like, show me sales for the West region last month.
Precisely that kind of thing. And Power BI tries to generate the answer, often as a chart or a number, right there on the fly.
Okay, that saves the report builder from having to create 50 different charts just in case someone asks that specific question.
It really does. It makes data more accessible. Users can explore without needing deep report knowledge.
Democratizes it a bit. Any other cloud goodies?
Yep. Personalized dashboards. Users aren't stuck with just the reports you build.
How so?
They can pick and choose visuals they care about, maybe one chart from the sales report, a table from the finance report, a KPI from marketing, and pin them to their own personal dashboard.
Ah, like creating their own mission control panel.
Exactly. They arrange it how they like, resize things, tailor it perfectly to their job, and they can share these custom dashboards too.
So you provide the pieces, they assemble their view. Nice. One more.
Last one they mention is alerts.
Alerts, like notifications.
Yeah, you can set up automated email alerts based on KPIs or metrics on your dashboards.
Give me an example.
Sure, maybe you want to know immediately if inventory for a key product drops below a certain level, or if sales hit a specific target.
Okay.
You can set an alert on the visual showing that number. If it crosses the threshold you set, you get an email.
So it's proactive. The data tells you when something important happens.
Exactly. It moves beyond just looking at reports passively.
Right. Now, all this sharing and cloud stuff immediately brings up security concerns. How do you control who sees what? Which is, I guess, reason 5.
Row-level security features. Yeah.
Okay.
And the source really highlights how much easier Power BI makes this compared to the old ways, especially in Excel, which could be really complex and fiddly.
How does Power BI handle it? Is it hard?
They say it's pretty straightforward, even for non-coders. The classic example is, say, you want regional managers to only see the data for their specific region.
Right. Can't have the East Coast manager seeing West Coast numbers.
Exactly. Or maybe sales reps only seeing their own customer accounts. Power BI lets you define these access rules. In Power BI Desktop, before you publish, you create roles, like a Canada sales role. And for that role, you apply a filter using a simple expression like country of Canada.
Okay, so you define the rules first.
Then, after you publish the report to the Power BI service, you go into the security settings for the dataset. There, you assign actual users, or maybe easier, Office 365 groups from your organization to those roles you created.
Ah, so you map people or groups to the preset roles.
Right. And it means when that Canadian manager logs in, Power BI automatically filters the data they see based on the role they're assigned to.
That sounds much more robust and less risky than emailing different versions of Excel files around and hoping you sent the right one.
Definitely. It's built-in scalable security. And it eliminates that risk of someone accidentally seeing sensitive data because they got the wrong email attachment.
Yeah, huge for compliance. Okay, so pulling all these threads together. Massive data handling, easy trend analysis, nice visuals, the powerful cloud features for sharing and insights, and robust security.
The picture the article paints is that Power BI really helps, push organizations towards being more data-driven.
It's moving beyond just reporting, isn't it, into actual analytics culture.
That seems to be the core message, yeah.
Excellent.
The source emphasizes the self-service aspect. Business users aren't so dependent on IT anymore to get data, clean it up, analyze it.
They can do more themselves.
Right. The automation of putting data together, how easy it is to add new sources, build visuals quickly, deploy that row-level security. These are framed as like necessities now.
Especially with the speed business moves today.
And the cloud environment with things like Quick Insights and the natural language Q&A, that helps with data governance too, because it's all managed centrally, not scattered across hundreds of spreadsheets.
Right. Control and access in one place.
The source really hammers home that, in this age of analytics, using your data smartly isn't just nice to have. It's fundamental for keeping up with changing markets, changing customer habit.
And they specifically mention moving away from just tables of numbers.
Yeah, shifting from those tabular reports with huge reams of numbers, as they put it, towards data visualization being central. The future, they say, is bright and shiny for analytics, and companies are jumping on board with these tools.
Okay, so we've definitely unpacked some really compelling reasons there from that Hitachi Solutions article. Making that move from Excel to Power BI seems to address a lot of common pain points.
For sure. We talked about handling huge data files, doing complex trend analysis much more easily, making visuals look good without being a designer, the whole cloud sharing and insight generation piece, and managing security properly.
Yeah, if you're listening and nodding along, thinking about those hours spent fighting with big spreadsheets or manually updating things every week.
Hopefully these points give you a pretty clear idea of what potential benefits something like Power BI could offer, based on what the source highlighted.
It really is a stark contrast in capabilities for certain tasks. And the article ends with a pretty provocative thought for people to consider, doesn't it?
It does. They actually say that with, quote, quick retooling, you too can be a Power BI superstar for your organization.
A superstar. Not just coping, but excelling, pardon the pun.
Right. So the thought to leave you with is maybe. What could that actually mean for you, for your daily work, for your team's ability to see things clearly and make smarter decisions faster? Something to think about.